Hi, you're watching James. My name's James, you're watching me, and I'm talking about watches. Today I'm going to be talking about my Casio G-shock DW5600 series. In particular, this is the E-1V variant. I've owned a different G-shock for about 10 years now. It's been very tough, very reliable, and it's done everything that I needed it to do, but I thought it was about time that I change over to something different. Throughout that time, I needed something very specific from the watch, and it delivered. However, now I wanted something that I actually like the look of better. That old particular G-shock was very good, however I didn't really love the aesthetics of it. So when I was ready to buy a new G-shock, I looked throughout their range, but there was a few particular things that I needed. Firstly, I was concerned about the price. This is something that I use for my work, it's not something that I use in my leisure time, so I wanted it to be on a budget. I also needed the display to be very clear, show the time, be available to do it in 24 hours, the day of the week, the date and the day. I also needed a backlight that worked really well and that made the watch very clear and legible to read throughout the night. So looking through the range of G-shocks, there are lots of watches on offer, but I kept coming back to this DW5600 series. I like the general look of the watch, I like that everything on the display is very easy and clear to read, and this comes with a lovely electroluminescent backlight. This watch gets a lot of attention on the internet, so there were lots of reviews for me to read, and a lot of it talking about that it's the best budget watch available in the range, and for $40 you can't go wrong. So a lot of these reviews are 3 to 4 years old, and they're talking about $40 US. But can you still buy this watch for that price? Well, I can tell you, I certainly couldn't find it for that. In fact, what I'd found is that it almost doubled in price. Looking at the Casio website within Australia, the recommended retail price is $129 Australian. Looking at the Casio website in the US, it's retailing currently for $69 US. However, that's not to say you can't get it cheaper elsewhere. However, even after I checked everywhere I could find on the internet, as I would thoroughly do every time I buy a watch, the cheapest I could find was $108 Australian. I did look elsewhere overseas as well and found it a little bit cheaper in some other markets, but even then, when I added the postage costs, it would cost me more to get it here in Australia. So I'm going to do two things with this watch. Firstly, I'm going to review it as I would any other watch. I'm going to run through the functions and specifications of it and show you what it looks like on my wrist. However, then after doing so, I'm going to come back and talk to you about whether I think it's worth the price that I paid for it, and try to answer the question for me, is this watch really still the best budget G-shock in the range, and should you still buy it at this price? Alright, so let's have a bit of a look in the review, and then we'll come back and we'll chat some more. See you soon. This is my Casio G-shock DW5600 E-1V. Comes in this nice cardboard box, a little bit smashed and mushed up when it came in the post, but it does the job, doesn't it? Inside we have the watch and a very simple watch holder. We have a warranty card, unsigned, a little bit of information. And here we have the Casio G-shock. Tucked inside here is a little manual. Whole heap of information in different languages all squished together. Comes with this very simple plastic stand. So the specifications of this watch, we have 43.5mm wide, 12.5mm deep, a relative 55mm lug to lug. It has integrated resin band with an effective lug width of 27mm and is 53 grams. Being a G-shock, it is shock resistant. It also has 200 meters of water resistance. It has an integrated resin band, which also has an integrated resin protection case around the sides. It comes in a 12 and a 24 hour time format. It has electroluminescent backlight. It has a stated accuracy of plus or minus 15 seconds per month, and the battery that comes with it states that it lasts for 2 years, assuming that you use 3.5 seconds of the backlight per day and 20 seconds of the alarm daily. Displayed we have the time, which I always keep in 24 hours, we have the day of the week, we have the month, and the day of the month. It comes standard with a number of features, including an alarm, a countdown timer, a stopwatch, and then we're back to our time again. The outer case, as I said, is a part of the protection of the G-shock. It says right there, protection and G-shock. Also on the display says Casio, illuminator, water, 200 meters resistant, electroluminescent backlight, alarm, G-shock chrono, start stop, light on and off, light, adjust and mode. The resin band is rather stiff, but has a very soft coating on it, which feels quite nice to the touch. The band itself also creates part of the shock protection for the watch. If the watch is dropped, the band can work to soften the impact, sort of like this. The buckle and tang is rather simple, but fine. It has a resin keeper, and on the back of the tang it says Casio Thailand. The buttons are relatively small, but easy to use. They are recessed into the case, providing them with added protection. The case has a stainless steel case back with 4 screws to hold it down. Now I've just turned the light off just to show you how good that backlight actually is. Amazing. You absolutely couldn't get better lighting than that. And there's the watch on my 6 3/4 inch wrist. Fits quite nicely. It does conform to the wrist a little bit. The integrated bracelet does stick out a fair bit. It does have a fair bit of stiffness to it, and you can feel that. So underneath it does create a slight little bit of gaps here and here. However, looking down, it's very easy to read the display and very easy to access the buttons. And here's a final wrist roll before I flick back to me, and I give you my final thoughts about this watch and about whether I still think it's the most value for money G-shock in the lineup. And let's flick the camera over. So that's the review of the watch. So, am I happy with the watch? Well, yeah, I am. It's a great watch. There is a reason why they're so popular on the internet. However, is it still worth the money? Is it worth $108 Australian? Well, to answer that question, I think I need to delve into a couple of reasons why I bought the watch. If I was going to buy the watch just as is, just to use as a daily wearer throughout work, then realistically I think the price might be a little bit high. I'm not going to say that I'm disappointed with it, I'm not going to say that you'd be disappointed with it, but I think if that's the reason why you're going to buy this watch, then I think it'd be worthwhile certainly trying to wait for a sale to come up to try and get it a little bit cheaper, or perhaps compare it against some other watches in the range, or even other watches from other companies. Now that it is over $100 Australian, I really would have liked to have seen some other features added to the watch. Nothing too major, but it would have been nice to have a 10-year battery life on it. My previous G-shock has a 10-year battery and it's still working to this day. It would also be nice to see those pushes just be a tiny little bit bigger or a tiny little bit more substantial and feel a little bit more quality. I would have also liked to have seen the resin case fit a little bit better, which then would have given me better access to the buttons. For me, however, it was definitely worth buying this watch because I got it for a couple of different reasons. I bought it to use regularly, I bought it to be able to review on this channel, and I also bought a full metal modification kit that I've been really excited about putting on this watch. And I think this watch, after I've put a full metal modification on it, will be something rather special. So look out for that modification video that will be coming up in the near future. Alright, I hope I haven't confused you too much about this watch. It is a good watch, but as I said previously, I think you should probably be looking at other watches as well, or even other watches within the G-shock range. If you're not too set on having to own a G-shock, then perhaps there is better money spent elsewhere. However, I still don't think you'll be disappointed if you buy this watch. Alright, that's all for now. I'll see you in another video.